One of the hugely exciting things about working in the development space at the moment is the amount of intellectual energy coming from across the spectrum, and a lot of it coming from really well-meaning and engaged and highly professional business people that is saying we need to be bringing a whole lot more energy into changing poverty and changing people's realities, and the only really sustainable way of change is if you can harness market energies. And if you can create that power of economic supply and demand that works for the poor, that will be more sustainable over the long term. This is very exciting, and of course there are models that work. We've seen, and you will have read a lot about the quality schooling for the poor that is taking place in countries like Kenya and India. There's a lot of talk in marketing circles, and companies like Unilever have done a lot to promote this, of the bottom of the pyramid, of this huge pent-up pool of demand that's operating amongst the billions and billions of poor people, if only you can access them. And we spoke earlier today about the access to remote rural communities. You need high volumes, you need minuscule unit costs, and you need to be creating interventions that are targeted to emerging consumer power and emergency consumer choice. These are the hard-to-reach customer bases. And there's a lot of talk about impact investment, about social entrepreneurship, about harnessing the market. And this is hugely instructive. The critical thing is, it will work as long as you can get the people to pay and to keep paying. It might be a tiny little amount, and we need to be conscious of the fact that we are working in a push sector. Education, healthcare, those are pushes. You need to be quite conscious of your own development future. You need to have a sense of agency to want to invest even a tiny amount in really important life-changing interventions like education and healthcare. On the other hand, the pull of the cell phone is irresistible. And the more we can change the development dynamic into one of pull and less of push, the greater the change will come. So there's talk in many sectors that we need to move from those small, fragmented organizations called NGOs and bring in the power of the market and bring in the power of business. And yes, indeed, if you want to call that commercializing CSI, it has a critical part to play. It is new, and I want to stress it is not an alternative delivery strategy. It is a complementary delivery strategy. Can we do more with less? And can we cross-pollinate from one sector to the other? I've spoken about great brains and great energy. I want to just single out, and I've only chosen two, and there are dozens of others in South Africa, but these two organizations, known to many of you, I'm sure, are for me standout examples of what inspired, professional, determined young South Africans have managed to achieve in breaking the mold. Many of you will know of Tsiba. Of course, you know of CEDA too, the parent community, which has created basically a university for the poor in South Africa. Extraordinary innovation. Some of you may know Ikamva Youth, which is harnessing an educational intervention that extraordinarily for me, but perhaps this is the secret of their success, doesn't use a single teacher, not one. And yet it has thousands of youngsters through a process of peer and mentor teaching, achieving the most extraordinary educational results in after-school programs. Completely out-the-box thinking, completely novel, hugely exciting. Can it achieve scale? Can it be replicated? Or is it still, sadly, one of those realities still shaped and limited by the power of the social entrepreneur and that group of individuals?